may have seen some TV shows that put different generations head to head on different topics. While these shows are interesting and showcase the stereotypes and uniqueness of each generation, they fail to exploit them in the modern day. This documentary will try to exploit the hardships each generation faces daily in 2017 to see whether our problems are really all that different to that of other generations and whether the stereotypes are still true to this day. One person from each generation that is alive today will be asked the question, what is the biggest problem your generation faces and why? So now it's time to exploit the War Babies' wisdom on the issue and see what their biggest problem in 2017 really is. The first interviewee is Althea, who is at the ripe old age of 73. This means she slots into the War Baby generation. As Althea has been on this earth the longest out of all of the other generations, I was interested to see her view of the topic of generational differences and see if being of senior age is a disability to enjoying life to the fullest.
That a lot of us don't understand the computer age. It's a learning curve, and we need to come across it because it is the future. We do understand it for a while, but we had to learn it where it was something that didn't come across as a young person. It makes it harder for us to communicate with the younger generations. The communication's different. You communicate through your iPhone text messages and that, where this generation doesn't. They're still on the, well, as you might say, left behind, but they're still like the spoken word and the contact.
After the War Baby interview, I wanted to interview almost the polar opposite generation, which is Generation Y. Currently in her last year of school and having to make decisions that will impact the rest of her life, I wanted to see if the stress was beginning to get to her. I wanted to see how the problems people face growing up in the 21st century weigh up against those of the other generations.
Choosing the next step after school and deciding what my future will be, because these days we have so many choices and a lot of people I know already made up their mind and I'm still deciding, and it's like we're being rushed out the door. Past generations understood that we are completely new, we are different. What they were taught the way they were taught is a bit different from the way we're taught now. There's different expectations, and I think they need to understand that we're not all going to live up to theirs.
Next on the agenda is currently the youngest generation, Generation Z. Olivia is 8 years old, and for what she doesn't have in size, she makes up for in personality. Olivia has something to say on every subject, whether she knows something about it or not. She will say exactly what is on her mind with no filter. I knew this interview would be interesting.
Kids are always into technology, and they're always, always looking for things that are expensive and that look good and that are good, and they just so into technology, and it's just not fun anymore. Just have fun, that's usually what the rules are. Well, they're not rules, but it's usually just about having fun, not being competitive and saying I'm going to win all the time. I mean, it's good to win, but it's also good to lose some point.
Up next is the generation that is known for their work ethic and getting things done. It's time to see if these things are true. For Gen X, I will be interviewing Kevin, who recently just passed living for half a century. Being the middle child of the generations, I want to see if they feel neglected as much as any other middle child out there. It will be interesting to see their opinions on all the other generations too at this point in time.
Retirement. It's 10 years down the track. Obviously you want to have enough to retire. We're living a lot longer, so it's having the money to be able to live through my retirement.
Okay.
That, and I'd probably say emerging technologies would be a generation. And it seems to be changing so quickly. I suppose in relation to technology, it's just probably having a keener interest in it and trying to get a better understanding of it.
When I started making this documentary, I wasn't sure if there would be a theme or a message or an idea that we could pull through all of the generation's problems. Whether they would be exactly different or the same, I wasn't sure. But I think what we can pull from the interviewee's answers is that no matter what time or era someone was raised in, we all generally have the same problem. And that problem is human interaction and human perception. Each generation valued connection between other people, but just in slightly different ways. Some like to express themselves, some like the simplicity of just casual conversation and the small things in life, while others just want to be heard and voice their opinions freely.